pretend. All right, and we're recording. Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. There's probably a lot of members not currently present due to studying for exams that I think are happening tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday or Monday. But that's okay, because here we're going to talk about Google Cloud. Now, you may have seen in our previous presentations, we were discussing how to make a static website and basically host a static website on GitHub pages. And that's certainly fine if you just want something static that people can see, maybe like a resume website. I think, for example, BaileyCodbrand.com is actually hosted on a GitHub page, and it looks a-okay. So if this is, the kind of thing that you need, like that's perfectly okay. However, if you're looking for something a little more complicated, such as like my WIS application, which is like an inventory system, you're going to need to have like a dynamic website. So you're going to need to host a server, which is an application, on a computer. You could host this on your local computer, but you've probably run into the experience of hosting a Minecraft server on your local computer, and you run into issues anytime you need to restart the computer or anytime it like accidentally crashes. And luckily, we have ways of dealing with that called virtual machines. So let's see. Virtual machines can be hosted from a variety of places. The one that I'm most familiar or intimate with is Google Cloud. You can also get them through Amazon Web Services. Let's go ahead and load that up. I've never used AWS before, but I presume it's not too difficult to use. And I think they do kind of market themselves towards people like us. Yeah, solutions. Oh gosh, it's a little more complicated. Wow, they sell a lot of things now. Wow. Let's search Amazon Web Services virtual.
You also refer people to the help desk.
Yeah. Web Services virtual machine. Here we go, virtual cloud services. Yeah, you can do Linux virtual machines. You can do Windows virtual machines. It looks like they even have tutorials on how to get set up with all of this, which is really cool. But we're going to go ahead and use the Google one. So if you go to Google Cloud, you can either follow along or watch if you want. It'll be pretty intuitive either way. So what you'll do is you'll go to Google Cloud. And then if you're not signed in, you're probably going to see something that says sign up. And you'll want to sign up. At that time, it's going to ask for your credit card information, and you're going to want to give it your credit card info because it'll be billed to you. However, with Google Cloud, the first 365 days or $100 of hosting is provided free to you. And if you're just going to be running something like a dynamic website, that's really only going to cost a few dollars to operate maybe every month. So your free trial will pretty much last for a year, which is really nice. If you're doing something more complicated, like running a Minecraft server, you're probably going to burn through that quite a bit faster, though. So just keep that in mind, and then it'll start billing your credit card. Great. So once you have your account created, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the console. Let's see, it's loading here. All right, and this is my dashboard. So I currently have one very large virtual machine that hosts most of my services. So we can see that I'm already expected to pay $51. I'm already accumulated $51, and we're halfway through the month. And we can see this is about my average utilization. So I'm using about 13% of my virtual machines. So how do we set up a VM? Well, we're going to go to the menu tab, and then we're going to go to Compute Engine, and then we're going to go to VM Instances. After you've created your account for the first time, it's going to take a little while for this to actually be enabled for you. You're going to get a lot of messages that say like setting up, like please wait until like this is completed or until like the API is enabled or whatever. So you kind of just have to sit and give it about 10 minutes. And then you'll be taken to something, it'll have a box on it, and it'll say, like, set up new virtual machine, because you don't have any. Great. Wow, this is overutilized. That can't be right. Okay. So we're going to make a new instance. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a new virtual computer for us out in the cloud. And we get to basically decide how we want our virtual machine to be set up. So we can decide how much processing power we want to give it. We can decide how much RAM we want to give it. We can decide how much hard drive storage space we want to give it, as well as which operating system is installed on it, and how we want it to interface with the network, and basically which one of Google's data centers we would like it to run out of. Okay, so let's go ahead and call it WebDev Test. In case anyone's wondering why we're not setting up with like a new WebDev account with the like WebDevUW credit card, that's because I was supposed to go through the drive-thru and get the debit card issued to me, and did not see that email until today. So, oops, we'll do that tomorrow. Great. Does anyone have any questions up to this point?
What is on your virtual machine? What are you using it for right now?
Sure. Yeah. So on my current virtual machine, I'm hosting a bunch of different applications. So I'm currently running 2 Minecraft servers, which I won't give you the IP address for. One of the servers hosts up to about 12 players playing on it at once. And then the other one is intended for like 4 people playing on it. Additionally, I'm hosting rswerner.com, swiss.rswerner.com, wis.rswerner.com, oob.show, as well as a backend MySQL server, which is used by a bunch of different applications. So this is the schema for all of my MySQL stuff. So, oh yeah, and I'm running a subscription-based website platform off of this as well. So, oh, and actually 2 WordPress websites. Sorry. So yeah, if you want to set up a WordPress website, you can also do this. I forgot to mention that. Great. So that's what I'm running on it. Great. So in terms of actually configuring this, I'm going to give you some of the like standard loadout. So we're going to go ahead and select from probably the cheapest generation, which I think is N1. You can see up here in the top right, it's giving us an estimate of how much it's going to cost. For actually running a website, you can probably get by with an F1 micro. If you need a website with a MySQL backend, you're going to want a G1 small, which will run you about $14 a month. Again, you do have $100 free credit the first time you set up an account. Okay, for this, we're going to go ahead and, well, I guess we can get a small for now, and I can just disable it after this is done. Great, we don't need any of that. Okay, so boot disk. Right now it is set to Debian here. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and swap this out for Ubuntu right there. And let's see, I'm going to go for Ubuntu 18. You can use Ubuntu 20 or 16 if you want. Great. Select that. Okay, so for as far as like API access and stuff, I believe this is for actually accessing like the settings of your machine while it's running from a remote source. So if you need to like turn it off, turn it on, that kind of thing. And then Firewall. You can easily allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic through the Firewall system. I'd recommend for you guys that you can just go ahead and turn this on, since it's probably what you're going to be doing. You can also manually interact with the Firewall for your virtual machine if you'd like, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, we can take a look at all of the additional information. However, we're probably not going to need to mess with any of this. Yeah, if anything, it would be networking and giving it a network tag. So something like test machine. There. And this is in case we need to make any changes to the firewall. We can target those changes directly to this single machine. Well, great. So this is most of the setup that we need. Yeah, we're going to set it up in Google's Iowa data center, which is really cool. You can go to your parents and say, hey, did you know that I'm using Google's Iowa data center? And they will have no idea what you're talking about. So let's go ahead and create that. It'll take us back to this dashboard page, and we'll see that it circles for a little while. If anyone has any burning questions about the setup that I just did, feel free to hop in. Otherwise, I'll just sit patiently.
Okay, can you do like a brief summary of what you just did?
Sure. So everything that we just did was configuring the loadout of our virtual machine. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, we selected the cheapest machine. Oh, go for it. Oh, sorry. That's David Woodson giving feedback, I think. There, okay. Yeah, so just in summary of the configuration loadout that we did, we selected the smallest machine, or sorry, the second smallest machine, so that we could host more complex like server software on it. We selected an Ubuntu operating system, since that's the one I'm most familiar with. You could also use any other operating system that you're comfortable with. and we allowed HTTP and HTTPS. So that when we actually get our web server running, we'll be able to have it port out of the machine. Okay, before we actually load up the machine, let's go ahead and open up Paint. I'm a big fan of Paint. And I'm going to draw us an image. Okay. I think I've done something like this similarly. Let's make sure. Okay, we have a good size. Great. Oh, I thought I clicked the eraser. I did not. Okay, so we're going to imagine that this is our virtual machine. Wow, that's so much smaller than it was previously. There we go. We're going to imagine that this is our virtual machine, right? It's just like this little computer hanging out in the cloud. Amazing. Okay, so we can imagine that we are over here on this end, right? We're the end user. Great. And so what we need to do is we need to figure out a way to get data from this virtual machine to our computer and vice versa. However, we also don't want every other person who's in the world to access, our stuff. Because, I mean, think about it this way, right? If the virtual machine is just publicly accessible, literally anyone and their sister can sign into our computer and wreak whatever havoc they want on it. And we're the ones who are paying for this, so we don't want that to happen. However, we also need it to allow us to get in, because if it doesn't allow anyone inside, then it's not really useful for us. So what Google has done is they've built this firewall system. So we're going to imagine it like this big wall that exists right here that blocks things from coming in. However, they've made holes for us, and they call these holes ports. And by default, they enable a couple of really basic ports. And one of those is port 22, which, if you're a CS major, you probably know by this point is SSH. Great. So I don't exactly understand the way that SSH encryption works. All that I know is it is very secure. But essentially, we give the server our public key, and then it's able to identify that it's us when we try connecting with our private key, which keeps all of these people out and allows us to access the machine. That's all fine and dandy. Now, you might be thinking, well, what if we want to host things on this computer for these people over here to see? Because, we want them to be able to see external web content. So, there's another port that's used for this. This is port 80. So we're going to hook it up to port 80. And this is the HTTP port. And so whenever these people use an internet browser and are given the address of where our computer is, they are going to go ahead and send requests to HTTP port 80, which is great. However, there's a couple problems with sending things through HTTP port 80 that we'll talk about in depth a little bit later. And that's the fact that none of these connections are secure by nature. They're not encrypted in any way. And so what that allows to happen is for people to actually intercept this data on its way to our server. So essentially, people can come in and snoop out this data. And if we're sending stuff like passwords or credit card information, that's not very secure. So the solution for this is another port, unsurprisingly. And you may be familiar with this. This is HTTPS. And this is encrypted data that's sent from the end to the client. And what this is supposed to prevent is man-in-the-middle attacks from occurring on that data, which is great. Well, cool. So we've talked essentially about how firewalls worked. When we selected the allow HTTP and HTTPS, we enabled these ports, which are 80 and 443 respectively. So we can, when we do set up a web server, it should be publicly accessible. Great. So we're going to connect to the computer using SSH on the port that we discussed earlier. So in order to do that, we need to provide Google our public SSH key. If you're running a Windows computer and you don't have your SSH key yet, what you can do is you can type in a command, I believe it is ssh-keygen. I'm not going to run it because I already have mine and I don't need to replace it because that would just confuse things. Great, so then once you have that, it's going to show up in a folder. Let's go ahead and find it here. I think it's somewhere close to root. C users dodge. Yeah, this .ssh folder. And this is my private RSA or private SSH key, which I will not show you. And then this is my public one. Great, so I can go ahead and open this. It's going to open in Publisher. Don't allow that to happen because that's not right. Open it as a text editor. Here we go, edit with Notepad. Great, so this is the key. We're going to go ahead and copy this. And then in Google Cloud, we're going to go to the metadata tab. Right here, down in Settings. Great, we're going to click Add Meta. Oh, sorry, no, then we're going to go to the SSH keys tab right here. And then we would just edit this, add item, and then you'd paste your SSH key in the box. Cool. So what that does is it allows you to connect to your virtual machine directly from your computer in a very secure way so that you're the only person able to connect to it, which is great. And if you have any other people who you want to have access your virtual machine, just tell them to send you their public keys, and you can also add them to the project through this SSH key screen here. Cool. Does that explanation of firewalls and like SSH keys make sense? Bailey, all I need you to do is just say yes, and it will make perfect sense in this context.
It absolutely does not make sense, and I expect more out of you, Ryan. Please.
Darn it. Hey, aren't you
Hi,
all supposed
Professor. I was late to this Zoom call. Can you rewind 20 minutes, please?
to... unfortunately not.
Are you talking about SSH keys again?
We are.
Yeah, can we circle back to that and do a deep dive into what?
Piggybacking off of what Eric just said.
Yeah.
All right, we don't mean to interrupt your meeting, Ryan. Keep going.
No, continue.
Well, now I'm sad. Just kidding. All right, continuing on. Now that we have that entered in, we should be able to connect to it. So let's go ahead and back to our VM instances. And let's load up my second favorite command prompt of choice called PowerShell. And then we're going to copy this external IP address. You can just click this little copy button. And then we're going to SSH into the virtual machine. Super exciting. All right, it's going to ask you if you would like to add this. We're going to click yes. And we're in. Look at that. Ah, isn't this already cool? I'm already having a blast. Look at this. We're in like a computer, but this computer is like in Iowa, in like Google's data center. I just want everyone to take a moment to appreciate the fact that like resource allocation in society has come that far.
I cannot tell you how many times Ryan has told me, Bailey, I have a computer running in Iowa.
I know, it's so exciting.
Is this what mainframes look like?
Sure.
Yes.
So I'm pumped. My blood pressure increased a little bit. I heard a little dopamine release happened there. So now we are ready to start doing things on our computer. So remember when I had Paint up and I was explaining the firewall situation? Sorry, where'd Paint go? Paint, come back. Paint, there it is. Great. So now I'm going to try to imitate being these people down here. And I'm going to try connecting to that IP address. So when we try doing that, nothing happens. The reason for this is when they hit port 80, we don't actually have anything on our computer serving back data. So essentially, it's just like, nah, go away. So we can fix that by actually hosting something on port 80. And luckily, there are applications that can help us get started serving content on that port. So one of the most useful things that you'll ever interface with on a virtual machine when trying to host websites is either Apache or Nginx, which are reverse proxies, as well as there's a couple other names for them, but that's primarily what I use it for.
Is Nginx the same as Nginx?
True. Correct. The Nginx documentation. No, the Nginx. Darn it, Owen. The Nginx documentation says to pronounce it Nginx, so that's what we're going with. Great. Let's go ahead and install that. The first thing we want to do is we want to update our computer. So we're going to do sudo apt apt-get, and it's update, I think, is the first one. Great. This is going to go ahead and tell us what all of our updates are going to be. Just very patiently wait, and then we're going to do upgrade. If you're unfamiliar with what this is doing, essentially what this is doing is it is downloading all of the new package version information from apt-get, which is like the app store, essentially, of Ubuntu. Or really for
If you've ever used NPM, it's like that.
Yeah, it's pretty much like NPM, yeah. So update basically pulls that new stuff, and then upgrade actually installs it on your machine. Great, once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and do sudo apt... Oh gosh, I always mess this up. Is it apt-get nginx? No. Oh, and what's the command? Is it apt-get install? Or is it just apt install?
For installing a new package, yeah, it's apt install.
Apt install, okay.
I mean, technically all of these are apt commands because apt is since no. Apt
is it
no,
apt?
it's a space.
Oh,
It's a
okay,
space.
I see.
Yeah, apt get is sort of deprecated, but not really because everything's sort of under apt now.
Okay.
But you can use apt get forever, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
Don't quote me on that.
There we go. So what we did is we just installed software called nginx, which is a reverse proxy, and will allow us to host a very simplistic, basically a static web page. Essentially what it does is it listens for requests that come in on port 80, and then it returns content back to the users who try accessing that. But it allows you, or me, to basically set up what happens when they do that. So let's go ahead and check its status. So on an Ubuntu machine, we can check statuses by doing sudo and then systemctl, and then status, and then the name of the application. So in our case, it is nginx. And we can see, according to this, it is currently active, running. We can see when it started running. And then we can also see more information, like some logs about the process. Sorry, I'm currently like gargling Mountain Dew over here to wet my throat. Maybe not the healthiest option. Great, once we have that running, we should actually be all set, and we should actually have a little bit of a web page running. So let's go back here and refresh. And we can see now when we go to the IP address of our web server that we started running, we get this welcome to nginx screen back. So that means it's successfully installed and working. Look at that. Beautiful. We basically already started hosting a static web page, and all we've done is spend about 20 minutes talking about virtual machines. Okay. So you're probably like, hey, that's cool, Ryan, but what if I wanted to do something useful? And I definitely agree with that. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and deploy the website that we made previously. Now, Bailey, where can I get the files that we had for the site we made in that one meeting?
Did I make it a GitHub repo? I might have. Let me go find it.
Yeah, I feel like I should remember whether or not I did that on my computer or I watched you do it on my computer. I think I watched you do it.
Let's see here. I think I got to sign out of this account though. 1 second.
Uh-oh. Great.
Otherwise, I think you just didn't you send a link to the file in one of these channels?
I definitely could have. Yeah. Let's see.
All right, you go look for that, and I'll sign it and see if I can get you the GitHub repo.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess until then, I can technically make a new project. Yeah, we got 30 minutes. Great. Cool. So let me go ahead and show you around Ubuntu a little bit. So the configuration for the stuff that we installed. Actually, let's just go to root. Sorry. So we do cd / since we're using beautiful PowerShell, we're doing dark blue text on a black background. Oh, and can I change the background color? Is that a thing?
Yeah, but it sounds like it's outside the scope of this presentation.
All right, I just put in a style sheet and the index into the meetings.
I see. Ooh, what if
I
we...
dare you to use a white background with white text, please.
Oh, that's
Oh,
not great.
no, stop. God,
Oh.
why would you do that?
Hey, I
So,
thought that might look
Ryan,
good.
Ryan,
Yeah.
Ryan, let's pick a color that isn't like.
Oh,
Honestly,
yeah.
go back to what it was before.
But I couldn't see the dark blue things.
I don't know. This harkens back to whoever said it looked like the mainframe.
What if we do slightly
Ooh.
opaque? No, that's terrible. I can see through it.
That's indeed what the transparency slider changes.
Oh my god.
Okay. Well, we learned a lot from this. Oh, did you find
Doesn't
it?
that
No.
look just perfect?
No.
I recommend Windows Terminal, which is an application you can download from the Microsoft Store and allows you to combine PowerShell and Command Prompt into one application and has themes that you can use instead of messing around with that.
And I
Or
And
personally
I-
Git
recommend
bash,
Git
like-
Bash.
Thank you,
Yeah.
JP. Thank
And
you.
I recommend Mac Terminal because Mac. Thank you.
I recommend just doing this on your actual Ubuntu computer. Thank
Yeah,
you.
drive over to Iowa and go into the terminal there.
I recommend inputting everything in binary to the computer.
So, all asides aside, did you find the link to the repo?
I did put in the index and CSS into the meetings.
Oh, I see. That's could you just go ahead and actually commit that into a repo for me to clone onto this machine?
Yeah, I will go do that.
Thank you, Mr. Bacon. Okay, so now we are in root, as said previously. So I'm gonna do my best as a pharmacy major to explain everything in the root of an Ubuntu computer. So this is bin that stores the binaries, which are basically programs, but for like how the computer works, if that makes sense. This is boot, that does something. Dev does something. Etc. or etc is where all the configuration files for things are stored. Not quite sure what home does.
Home is where the user's files live.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. Oh, that's
Also
right.
Oh, that's where the heart
Also
is.
identified by tilde.
I do know where home is. Yeah, that's right. Because if we go to home, sorry, I'm looking.
I just put the repo in the meetings chat.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we can see my account Dodge is in here. I do know. Wow, I'm so silly sometimes. There's a lost and found. This is where you can put your gloves, if you find them. Yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know. If you're looking for a more in-depth explanation, watch a YouTube video, which is terrible advice coming from the vice president of WebDevUW, but I digress. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Nginx configuration. So that's going to be located in /etc. So let's get out of here. rcd/etc.
Et cetera, Ryan. Et with a T. Et cetera.
Yep, etc. etc. So inside of here, there's going to be an Nginx folder. So cd Nginx. And this is all of our configuration. So there's some important folders in here, and that's the sites available and sites enabled. If we go to sites available, we can see that there is a configuration called default that exists inside of here. The way that Nginx works is with, oh my god, I literally remembered the name and then forgot it. Sorry, unit files. Or units. So for every file that we have in here is essentially like its own website or configuration. And so you can like copy them and have multiple ones in order to like host multiple different things through one Nginx configuration. That sentence is a little complicated without actually showing you how to do it. So let's go ahead and start modifying these and getting involved. So if we do sudo nano default, we can see this is the default configuration of the most basic Nginx site. Essentially, we have this this server object thing, and we listen on the port that we would like to hear things on, and by default for HTTP that's 80. It tells you. Go for it.
What does snake oil mean?
It's a good question. I don't know. Owen?
I've got this. Snake oil is a metaphor for something that is supposed to be more impressive than it is. Back in the legendary Wild Wild West, they would sell snake oil and make it be like this miracle elixir, and it really did nothing.
I got that part. What is like? How does it relate in this?
That makes a lot more
context?
sense.
I understand the
Well done,
metaphor, but
Eric.
thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jared, do you know what snake
I'm a
oil is?
man.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm looking it up. Don't worry.
Cool. Continuing, while Bailey looks that up. So we're listening on port 80 for both IPv4 and IPv6 connections that come through. There's additional information on here on how to set up certain things if you're feeling inclined. This is the root. So this is where all the files that we're going to serve back to the user are designated in. By default, it's in var www HTML. Depending on who you talk to, they will be more or less concerned on where you put your files. If you talk to me, I really could care less. Put them wherever your heart desires. Security, who is she? Go talk to a data security person about that.
So I have an update on the snake oil .key. It is a self-signed certificate generated by the SSL cert package, and it says not to use them in a production server. So I imagine that's why it's called snake oil.
Oh, so if I look right here, it says don't use them in a production server. Oh, cool.
Yeah. There you go.
Cool. Good thing we figured that one out.
Very nice, thank you.
Yeah. So we have the root, as we specified. We have the server name. So right now it's not like set to anything because it's literally just the IP address of our site. And then the location. So when we go to the server name and then slash, it'll run these commands. And these are like the Nginx, like, I don't know, language thing that they have set up in their documentation. So it's going to try files. So if it finds a file matching the name that we've requested, it'll try serving that back. Well, try files, and then you specify the URI, and it'll try serving back the URI, then the URI slash, and then if it can't do that, it'll return back a 404 error, which is the common not found error. Great, and I don't really think there's anything else going on in this, really. So it's pretty simple, and it exists there by default, and we can kind of modify it to our desires. Cool. So Bailey just went ahead and put that project into a GitHub repo for us. So let's go back to our home folder, which is designated by tilde, as Owen said. And we're going to go ahead and clone that repository to our computer. Bailey, did you say you had put the link to it somewhere?
Yep, in the meetings.
Right there. Look at that. Copy link. I'm going to hope I have access to this.
Should be public. Otherwise, I can add you.
All right. So we're just going to clone a Git project. So git clone, and then the URL. Great, and it worked. So let's go ahead and go into that folder. Wow, Bailey, that is a really that's a name.
Thank you. Hey, it's for GitHub pages. Don't worry.
Sure. Cool. And so there's a CNAME file in this. What's that?
It must be for the GitHub pages setup. I bet it's auto-generated.
Huh. Cool. Great. And we can see like this is all the stuff that we had previously. So index.html. This is Bailey's website. Why do I feel like there's going to be a picture of Luna on this? The worlds are colliding. There's corgis and web servers. I love this. Okay. Great. So if we'd like to serve this back, we can actually make a couple really quick changes. And so what we can do is we can go back to our Nginx configuration, DC Nginx, and then we can actually just go into the default and just kind of hijack default. So sudo nano default. And we can change the root to be /home/dodge/ and then the name of that folder that Bailey got for us, which is baileyswizzle.github.io. Cool. And then we'll just serve back the requested files from that folder. Great, so we'll save that. We'll cancel out of that. Whenever you make a change to your Nginx configuration, you're going to want to run the Nginx configuration check command. To do that, you do superuser do Nginx and then -t, which stands for test. Great, and it'll tell you that the configuration syntax is okay. Otherwise, if you messed it up, it'll tell you where it went wrong, and then you could use like a backup that you made if you made too many changes. Cool, let's go ahead and restart Nginx on our machine. So we do sudo and then systemctl is our command to interact with processes running on the machine. And then we're going to restart, and then we're going to restart Nginx. Great. And then normally we would want to check the status to make sure it restarted. And it did. Cool, so let's go ahead and refresh our web page. Bailey, it's Luna! Ah!
Pay no attention to the corgi behind the folder.
Look at the corgi! Oh. Look at that. Okay, anyway, yeah, this is the static web page that we made the other day that we now have running on here. We can note
On
that
the
it's...
VM.
Yeah, it's not HTTPS, and it still is using this IP address instead of an actual like domain. We didn't buy a WebDev. Oh, we didn't get that debit card yet, so...
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, what we'll do in the future is if you purchased your own internet domain, you can then set an A record to point to this IPv4 address. And what that'll do
I
is...
could have the Academy point there if you want.
Nah,
We'll do that another time.
DNS propagation takes a little while, so...
Yeah, it does.
Great, so that's that. However, at this point, you're probably like, hey, Ryan. So this is a static website, kind of like we did through GitHub Pages. And to that I'd say, you're right. It is just a static page here for now. However, we can now start learning how to interact with actual server software. So a popular one that I use is called Express. Sorry, Express.js. Which is a Node.js web framework for operating like HTTP servers, which is pretty cool. And it's very well documented. Has a really big guide and how-to. There's a really big community on how it works. It's like this is like the most simple setup. And the fun part is that we can probably make one really quick in the next 20 minutes, and I can show you how to get it running on your virtual machine. So let's go ahead and minimize literally everything here. Hopefully that one didn't have too much of my bank account information on it.
Ryan, did you intentionally start every program on your computer before doing this?
No, I didn't. It just happened to be like that.
Did you also know that if you click in the bottom right of a Windows operating system, it shows your desktop?
Yeah, but I have two other monitors. Great, let's rename this.
Interesting. Not sure what impact that has, but
Web
just go
test.
for it.
Let's go ahead and go into this folder. Let's go ahead and git bash in this folder a couple of times. So first we're gonna just open up VS Code in the folder. So I'll just do code dot. If you don't have that, you can just like open VS Code and then open the specific folder location. Cool. Then we're actually going to need to install a couple of really important packages. First thing we need to do is git init, I believe. We initialize an empty Git repository, which is great. So now we're going to do npm init, and this starts the node project. What should we call it? Well, web test is probably fine. Great, and then we'll just enter through all that information. Great, so we can see we now have a package.json file and the git hidden folder. Cool. Let's go ahead and install Express. So npm install. Is it probably Express.js? This is a typo squat on the popular Express package. It probably is Express. There we go. What else should I get? Express. That's really it. I guess. Oh, well, should we use React? No. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. Let's not for the moment. That would take too much time. We only have about 15 minutes. Great. So we have Express installed. Let's go ahead and bring up VS Code. Okay. Great. And let's make a new file. And let's call this server.js. This is going to be our web server. And what we want it to do is when requests come to it, we want it to serve back different things depending on where the user is requesting to go. So like in a normal context, we could say like, oh, if the user goes to /home, we display them their like dashboard. Or if they go to like /users/ an ID number, we would serve them the default user page plus the information of that specific ID number, which we can define in our web server. Great. So let's go ahead and set up a very basic web server. So let's go ahead and require that. So const express equals require express. Great. And then we're going to say const app equals, and then we're going to say express. And then we can say app.listen. And then we can give it an address. So let's say port 3000, for example. And we're also going to specify one route. Basically, Express has these routes, and we'll talk about that in a second after I show you how this works. So we're going to do app.get to slash. Send hello world. Okay, let's save that. So this is the most basic Express server that we can make. So in our git bash or PowerShell window, we're going to go ahead and do npx server.js. And then we are going to get an error message. Oh, not this again. There was a compilation error. Oh. Or sorry, actually, it's not npx. It's node. What am I thinking? Sorry. Node will, when we type in the command node, it tries to run it in the node environment, which is what we're going to do. npx is for when you're actually trying to run an installed package. So we are going to try that. And then I'm already actually using port 3000 for another web server running on my computer. Sorry. Let me go ahead and turn that one off. There we go. Let's try that again. And there we go. It should be running. Cool. So now when we go to the internet browser, which one of these? Oh yeah, this one. If we go to localhost, which is your own internal IP address, colon 3000 for the port that we specified in VS Code. We're going to, by default, it goes to slash, which is that message saying hello world. So great. Express has a ton of middleware on it. So all of these like routes and everything is referred to as middleware that essentially can modify requests as they come in. The easy way to think about this, or at least the way that it was explained to me, is that your requests start at the very top of the file and then go down the file and hit these different functions until a response is sent back to the user. So imagine this request object is coming in, and this response object is going out of each of these. However, that's only when it matches. So for example, like app.get/, if that's our actual URL path, then it will run this function on it, and then it will like keep sending it down until something hits. Great. So we can also use different HTTP status codes, and we can retrieve requests on those. So if you're not familiar, status codes. Anytime that you type something into the internet browser and click go is a GET request. Sorry, not status codes. HTTP methods. That's what I'm thinking. Is a GET request, and this is when the end user is trying to retrieve information from a web server. However, we can also have Express handle head requests, post requests, put requests, delete requests, and all of this other jazz. And it's actually really easy to do that. So we would just say app dot, delete. And then, so when someone sends a delete request to slash, then it would run this function. And then we could, do whatever here. That delete stuff. For example, you can get a little crazy with all of this. Owen will remember a day when I pretty much had post requests using the function of get requests, and vice versa. So
You literally had post requests for every request.
yeah,
It was terrifying.
well,
I mean, if it works, it works.
there's advantages and disadvantages to everything. So like get requests, you can't send a body along with the request, but for post requests you can. But post requests you can't initiate from the URL line of a browser. You have to actually have a function send it or some sort of application send it. So yeah, so you can manage that. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do instead of Express that I can't really show you how to do now because we really quickly want to get this working. Is there anything dynamic that I could have it show? Yeah, I guess there is. Let's see. I'm trying to think of my request parameters. Here, why don't we res.send request.query. Well, I guess we could do that no matter what, though. Let's just try to send back all of request.params and see what happens. Oh, sorry, we need to restart the server. Sorry, that always gets me. So anytime you make a modification to the file that you started running, you'll need to stop and restart the server. And in case you think that's tedious, yes, there is a node package that will automatically do that for you. Great, so now we get back this empty object, which was not what I wanted. Let's actually go ahead and just send back the entire request. How about it? I wonder what this will show us. Aha! Converting circular structure to JSON. It apparently did not like that. So, oh, where's the IP address? Is it just literally request.ip? That's a pretty cool one.
Maybe if you just made your own JavaScript object for fun, you could see that.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping it'd be dynamic based on the request that comes in, but even IP won't work because of reverse proxy software, but I guess we'll just have it say hello world and live with ourselves. Okay, great. So if we restart that, then we'll see it'll serve back hello world whenever we go there. And actually, let's just add in quickly one more location just to show why this is useful. So /luna, and we can res.send. I was gonna say we could send a file. Oh yeah, we can send a file. Let me download that picture of Luna quick.
Acting as if it isn't already on your computer in multiple places.
Yeah, it is. I have it on here like a million times. So let's go ahead and move it in there. Great. So if you go to /luna, then it's gonna send file. And then we are going to send the file of luna.jpg. Great. Okay. Great. Okay. So we save that. We're going to stop running the server. We are going to do git status. Okay, so we can see all of our changes. Then we are going to git add everything. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, we didn't, we need to git ignore. Sorry. I don't know if we talked about this previously, but you should git ignore node modules, or otherwise it'll be an absolute disaster every time you commit. So let's make a .git ignore file. Sorry. Git ignore, and then do node modules. Great, so now our changes should go down. So let's go ahead and uncommit everything, or unstage. And now let's go ahead and commit, or stage, sorry. Cool. Added initial files. Cool, great. We want to push this to repo, so we are going to I don't know what this does, but this looks cool. I thought I already authorized that. Weird. 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 Sorry, now I'm just playing with code here. Oh yeah, look at that. We can actually push it to a repo from VS Code. That's pretty cool. Let's make a public repo for that. Wow, Owen, did you know you could do that?
Yes.
Really? And you didn't tell me?
I mean, you seem to enjoy doing things in a way that you've invented rather than the way that people do.
I feel like that's an attack, but I'm going to take that as a compliment.
I meant it as both, so I'm glad that you got it.
All right. Well, I would have loved that feedback, Owen, but either way, here we go. We have our Git repo. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and sign into our virtual machine. Okay, and this time I'm just going to use git bash. This is H, and then whatever that IP address was. Does anyone remember the IP address by heart yet? I don't either.
Can't say that I do.
If you hit Control R, you can you can search your most recent commands and find it again.
Oh, that's really cool.
Or just like use the up key a bunch of times.
Oh my god, we literally just tried going to an HTTP address. Okay. There we go. Great, and we're in. Okay, so let's go ahead and git clone that project. Clone. And then .com. And then we can paste that in. Great, so now we have cd web-test. Great, I don't think I installed Node onto this virtual machine, so we're gonna need to do that, because I don't think I can just node server at this point. No, yeah, so if I try running node server.js, it'll say command node not full, but you can install it using node.js. So apt install node.js. And we're going to probably need sudo for that. And it's going to need some space. And I think that installs with Node Package Manager, but let's find out. So npm install. No, we don't have npm either. So let's go ahead and sudo apt install npm. Oh wow, that's going to need a lot of space. This is fun. What questions do y'all have for me at this point? Phenomenal. Oh,
How old is Luna?
Bailey?
Luna is about 11 months old now.
Oh!
She's getting old. She's almost at her year. I actually don't know when her birthday is. I'm sure my mom does, though. Don't worry.
She's
I'm not going to tell Ryan when her birthday is, though, if I know, because otherwise he'll like bake her a cake or something.
I'll get her birthday treats. Okay, great. So now we have that. So we'll need to go ahead and install our node packages. Which is essentially just Express. And now what we could do is we could node server. However, when we do this, you can tell nothing really happens. It's just running the server on our local connection to it, but there's no way to access it because we can't just open an internet browser on the computer. So we need to expose it publicly. And the way that we do that is we basically tell Nginx to pass a request to this web server that we're running anytime someone wants to access it. And also, we want to run this web server so that it's not just running when we're signed into the computer, but pretty much just always. So the way that we're going to do that is not open up Groove Music, but we're going to use systemd, which is this really fun software on Ubuntu for essentially running all of your applications. So in order to do that, we're going to need to set up a configuration file. So let's go ahead and go to root/systemd/system. Sorry, other way around. /system/systemd. Or no, there's an etc in there somewhere. It's etc/systemd/system. Nope. /system/systemd. Okay, now it's just messing with me. Alright, cd/etc/systemd. There we go. Okay, I don't think I had the initial root slash in there. My bad. So it'd be cd/etc/systemd/system. And that's not how you spell system. There we go. Now we're where we need to be. And we're going to want to make a new file. So sudo and then nano. And then we're going to call it, I don't know, let's call it corgi.service. Great, so now we're editing a new file. So systemd is essentially, what we're doing is we are telling the computer to run this node application when the computer starts up, and then run it in the background, even if like users sign in and do stuff on the computer and stuff. And that'll pretty much, we can set specifically when we want it to restart, like when we want it to turn on, and those kind of functions. And you can get really specific with it. And so in order to look up how we need to set this up, we can go to systemd documentation. And we can see there's systemd.service, and there's this beautiful unstyled HTML page that will tell us all about how to do this. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to find part of a configuration file that they've already written and then copy and paste it into ours. So for example, like this one. We can just copy this and paste it in. So we give the unit a name. So we're going to say this is the web test website. We're not going to do type equals forking because I don't know what that does. Exec start is essentially the command that we're going to use to start the web server. So we're going to, like normally we would say node and then the name of the server. However, we can't just specify that because like it doesn't really know what node means. So we actually have to give it the location of where the node command is. And in that case, I believe it's in /user/bin/node. And then the second part of that command is the location of the file that we would be running. So then we're going to say /home/dodge/ what is that called? web-test, I think. /server.js. Okay, and then we can say wanted by multi-user target. Okay, is there anything else we need? We can also set in like restart commands of when we want it to restart, or if it crashes, how many seconds we want it to delay. Let's see, multi-user target. Oh, we could also say after network has started, but usually that's not a problem. Great, so we can go ahead and save this. I can exit out of that. So we can see our file will now appear in the list here. Yeah, there it is, corgi.service. So we need to actually tell systemd that we would like our web server to start up with all of the rest of the applications on the computer. And the way that we do that is we do sudo systemctl enable and then the name of our service. So corgi.service. Great, and we can see that it has created this symlink, which enables the file. And then let's go ahead and start it and see if it will run. So sudo systemctl start and then corgi.service. And now let's check the status of it. Similarly to how we did it on Nginx. And we can see it's running, actually, which is a great sign. Cool, so now the only thing we need to do is we need to tell Nginx to pass all of the requests that it's receiving to that web server that we're hosting on our virtual machine. So we're going to go back to our Nginx configuration, etc/nginx/sites available ls, and we are going to modify default configuration. All right, we're going to go ahead and change the route so that the files we're serving back are... Actually, I didn't need to change that. Let's go ahead and try that again. Oh gosh, not this. Here we go. Web test. Great, so the actual thing that we're going to be changing is we are going to be changing it so that instead of just trying the files, we are just going to pass the files to our web server running on the machine. And what this is called is a reverse proxy. So we're going to say proxy underscore pass, and then we're going to give the location. So http : / and then I think we can just say localhost, right, Owen? And then the IP address that, then the port it's going to be running on.
I have literally 0 Nginx experience, so I cannot attest to anything that you ask me here.
Okay, so let's go ahead and test out this configuration. It looks great. Let's go ahead and restart Nginx. Sudo systemctl restart Nginx. I'm sure it's running. So let's go back to our internet browser and see if we're making that web server operate. Okay, so let's go to right here. This is our IP. Let's reload, and we can see if we go to /, it's now returning hello world, which is what we told the server. And if we go to /luna, we should get sad. We have to give absolute path on res.send file. That's my mistake for not knowing that. But basically, we'd be able to fix that by adding a like a full absolute path name instead. Let's see. Oh, that's a different project. Getting there. Here we go. So right here, then we would, I think we can pass it a setting. Let's see, so then we can do like, actually, how does that work? Is it just like root? Owen, do you know? Actually, what if we just did like dir name plus
You're going to want to use .join.
so is it like dir name, or what's the actual name?
From what I'm
think
seeing
it's-
here, it's path.join,
Yeah. So we're gonna
Yeah,
have to require path.
path.join.
and the first parameter is dir name, and the second one is the index.
Okay, so path.join. There's another way to do this that I remember vaguely. So like that?
I think so.
Yep.
Okay. So let's go ahead and commit that change. Dated path. Commit. Let's go ahead and push. Great, and then we just go into the web server console. And so we're gonna go right there. CD web tests. Oh, hold on. And then we are going to get pull. There we go. And then we are going to restart the server. So sudo systemctl restart, and then corgi.service. And now we're going to go ahead and go back to the internet browser, and hopefully that will fix all of our issues. And it did not, because we did not require path. But if we had required path on that file, it would work successfully. So yeah, that is a very basic introduction on how to host web services. I'm sorry if the tutorial was a little like spry and all over the place. That's just kind of the nature of it. I think what I'll probably do is I will record a much longer introduction on how to do this and put it on YouTube for everyone, since there's so many people that are interested in how to do this. Other than that, I think that's all I have to go through unless there's any questions. Let me pause on the part of the website that actually works. There we go.
Nice. Well,
Okay.
thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving this tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
And I give all this credit to a man named VJ who deserves a lot of credit. If you go to vjmarapudi.com, this is the VJ that I speak of.
He was compensated amply for his services.
He is the
He is
smartest man
quite
I've ever met.
possibly. He's the Albert Einstein of our age. Don't worry.
I agree. He knows all of this and more, and he is a PhD in human-centered computing at... Wait, he's at the Georgia Institute of Technology now?
That's new.
That's new. Yeah, he hasn't written a blog post recently, but...
Currently going for a Doctor of Philosophy. Is that what that just said?
Yep.
Yep.
I believe that's what a PhD is called in the common
No.
parlance.
I got that, but the philosophy part.
All right.
Yeah, that's what the PH in PhD stands for.
Okay, well, I will stop the recording.